buzz and a miss. All these bad rooms all over my shit. It go planet at
Everything with you.
All is great, man. All is great, man. Just grinding.
Yes, sir. Likewise. It's what is it? It's always. I'm a buddy that always says it's always sunny. It's always paradise in the sunny beach, or something of that nature. Where he says that's like the way he says it. It's like always paradise in this side of the town, which is
Absolutely,
super nice.
man.
Yeah, man. But I was excited, man. I was like, man, I always see popping in, and I was like, I gotta say what's up. I gotta say what's up to my boy and say, hey, how's it going? Give a little quick update. What's going on behind the comb scenes? What the heck's been going on with comb? It's been going down slightly, price action short term, which is fine.
Right.
But at the same time, like just kind of catching up and seeing how you're doing, and then and hopefully make it kind of have fun and as much. I don't know. I guess we'll find out, right? We'll see how this goes. We'll see how this goes. It's been how long has it been since the last one? It's been like what, 2 months?
Maybe 2 months, maybe 2.5 months. Yeah.
My man.
This is awesome, bro.
That's like 20 years in DeFi, right?
Yo, so long. Isn't that crazy how time shifts when you're in this space?
It is. It's actually nuts. Like so much has changed. Like before we were like, a puny, we were like an infant in the node space. We were like, hey, how do we become? Yeah, it was like, and you were one of the first few people that believed in us. So that's why, like, thank you for that. But like, yeah, it was like truly.
I was a cliff jumper in the cone.
You were, yes, sir. You were like, man, I believe in these guys. Let's get in it. And I love that. I was like, I respect that. And it's been like, man, it's been 4 months, actually, more than 4 months that we've been up and running, and that's actually that's nuts, man. That's insane, especially given like DeFi and like how everything the space has been this past the time, and how much advancements and what our direction is now and our trajectory. It's insane. Like you would have told me 4 months ago, this is the route we're going here. I would have been like, what are you talking about, man? You're crazy.
No way.
But, yeah.
No way in heck, man. And you guys just adjusted so nicely. You know what I mean? Yeah, it was really, really nice. And that just says a lot for you guys being in this space this long. You know what I mean? Like a lot of programs and projects in this space.
They're done. They're sayonara. They're down. They're like, yeah, you know what? And what's interesting is, like for us, like since day one, we're always trying. We even like what I said before, right? Like last time I had a big beard, right? But like last time I was saying like you want to treat this like a normal business, right? You want any profits, anything we make, we want to reinvest that in. And then we just thought about getting creative, saying, okay, let's actually create services that generate revenue. And then the revenue and the profits that we generate as a protocol from our treasury, why not put that in our own systems and let that farm and generate revenue, and then we repay our investors that route. So it's a never-ending kind of cycle of just constant revenue generation.
Yeah,
and that's where we kind of went through this, right? Like, basically, like these last, like leading up to it with the cap, and then afterwards, it's been a wild ride. I've actually been recovering from a severe illness, and like today's like my second day officially back, right? So like basically, I've been gone for the last 2 weeks. More or less, like I still was a little active, like here and there in the chat, but like the moment I'd start to feel better, I get hit with like, I got like gnarly strength. It wasn't even COVID. It was like influenza. So it was a flu. But it got me bad, man. It got me bad because I didn't get the flu vaccine. I got the COVID vaccine, but I didn't get the flu vaccine. I don't know why. I think I just forgot about it, right? It's kind of one of those things. And then like it got me bad, man. And then that's so some of the price action, to be honest, short term, I always kind of put it on slightly on myself. I'm like, man, it's because like there's been too much content, too many people don't know too much about what we've released, and that's partially on me just because I've been just been ill, and it kind of shows you like how pivotal these moments are truly for a protocol. But right now we're in a very comfortable spot, and we were in a comfortable spot beforehand too. Like it reminds me of the Amazon report that Bezos essentially released to his shareholders during the .com boost. Bust during like 2001, where he started it off like, ouch. It's like, it's a very iconic thing. So I'm going to release Like, it makes it out. And it's like, but nothing has changed. And it's the same way with comb. Nothing has changed. And that's the main idea, right? Like, sure, we have like short-term price action that's been decreasing. The market has taken a hit. as far as the node space goes. And it's very, I would say, unfortunate because people are noticing these blue chips as far as like, Bitcoin, ETH, and Fantom, right? All these like top tier protocol, like top tier coins and all that good stuff are rising up while nodes are going down. And people are like, what the heck's going on, right? And that's where it gets kind of unfortunate. However, we're really, really thankful given the state we're in. And I want to kind of have a lot of proposals sent out to our investors and kind of go a different route, right? Like now the route that we're going with is, obviously I want to push a lot more professionalism, and we want to be as professional as possible, but really treat this like, Fortune 500, Fortune 100 company.
Yeah.
Because right now we're really rising from bottom up, right? Like we're right now, like 2.5 months ago, when we last spoke, we were kind of like still in infant stage saying like, hey, we're going to do this, we're going to do that.
Right.
And we cheated. And at the same time, now we have so many opportunities, so many doors that are opening up with, like I have so many notes of like what I have to like draft up and intertwine together. And I'm like, okay, now it's time to work. Like yesterday I was going on like, okay, what are all the products we got? Right. And that's what I'm saying. We got a humongous roadmap ahead of us for Comb. And it's because like, we have such a top tier development team. And the beauty of it is we're able to adapt. Right. So like I have long-term routes, but at the same time, like now, given the short-term issues that we faced, we're also coming up with proposals to present because we want to honor the DAO system to our audience and be like, hey, this is what we have right now. Not too many people understand what Zcomb is. So perhaps maybe we like, make Zcomb something like you might have to invest into before you can sell, or some aspects where it can limit sell pressure. But at the same time, we also want to figure out ways to increase buy pressure, right? Because people aren't buying, because people should buy Comb because they want to get to Zcomb. But that layer, that like there isn't that incentive yet, right? So that's like right now when I'm drafting up and spending my losing hair follicles over is like, how do I make this sell, right? But like but it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen, man.
Right.
I tell my team like, listen, you got me, you got Sammy. I can sell honey to a bee, right? So it's like I sell egg to a duck. This is gonna happen. But no, I'm kidding. But obviously, like the products we got released is super awesome. And I'm excited, man. And having, supporters like yourself and just people that are just involved in the space and just kind of constantly keeping up is, that's a blessing in like just in itself, right? That's like one of the reasons we keep going. Even they were like they always say Moon, take a break. They always say Sam, take a break. They always say, like there's a lot of people that say, Phil, you gotta Phil is Moon. So like they're like, Phil, you gotta sleep, man, because he's up at 4 a.m. We're Pacific Standard Time. So like I'm an early bird, but I've turned into a night owl and an early bird.
And an early bird. I know that's the problem.
Yeah, it is what it is. But I don't treat this like work. Like we don't treat this like work. Like this is like it's cliche when you say it's like destiny, right? It's like one of those things where there's a purpose. You're waking up. There's a purpose, right? There's no like, don't view this as work. You're viewing this as like your purpose.
It's not bothering you. I understand totally what you're talking about, because though you put in all that time, it's not bothering you because you don't feel like you're working. Because time's just going by. You're just doing what
exactly. The only thing that's bothering is the people around me, right? The people around me are like, Sam, what's going on? What's going on? Can you say hi to me? My mom, my poor mother is like thinking I'm on like the gnarliest drugs because I'm losing weight, right? So she's like, because I've lost like 20, 25 pounds, and she's like, oh, she doesn't think I'm drunk, but she's like, my sister comes up to me, she's like, what, like you're lucky, like what's going on, like what are you on right now? I'm like, I'm on DeFi right now. Like that's what's going down, right? Like I'm on DeFi. That's how you lose weight, is because you don't eat at times. But like
absolutely.
But no, honestly, like even like being ill these past 2 weeks, it kind of made me realize that fortunately we've onboarded some new people on the team. So there's a lot of help now. That's gonna be really nice. So then there doesn't rely too much. But at the same time, these last 2 weeks made me realize like how important health is, especially in this space, because and how preparation is because it's like right now, what was super fun for me was the pre-launch with the Zcomb campaign pre-launch. That was a lot of fun. Yeah, and we saw how much fun that was. The .com boom. And then the last thing I want is to turn from a .com boom to a .com bust, right? So I'm like, okay, now we got to pivot that baby around. But the thing is like, but yeah, that was a lot of fun. And now it's like, because this stuff gets fun, man. It's because it's become strategic where it's like, okay, we have farms, right? So we need to what is our target audience right now? Right now we have node holders And the typically note holders, they want to be laid back. They want to just chill and receive passive income. Some might be like into the degen type of mentality where they want to have like, you know, get these insane yields or like, you know, do collaterals and all that good stuff and leverage.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, how do we appease to those audience, but at the same time grow from that audience and start going to a more professional audience that's more like.
We have lending and borrowing coming too.
Yeah, so that's something we're actually rolling out with really soon. So like we have a lot of I would say products that are going to be implemented. However, what I'm doing now is I'm structuring which makes sense given our target audience at the moment, right? So from us, it's like, hey, we have a launch pad that's coming out, we have all this good stuff coming out. But I'm like, okay, what is our current audience at this given moment? Who are we serving at this moment? And which one makes the most sense given the direction we're at this stage, right? Because we can create the best product in the world, but if we don't have an audience or anybody to sell to, then it's just going to be stagnant, right? So it's like not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, right? So it's like, so that's where it gets fun, because now it's like, okay, let's get to the whiteboard, right? Hope I don't got a whiteboard with me, but I got a legal pad, right?
Right.
So it's like, let's get to the legal pad and let's actually start mapping this out.
I got a few.
Dude, I know. Like my actual the one I previously had AMA, that was in my other room. And yeah, that's when I got the whiteboard, and that's where I get nitty gritty with it. I'm like, okay, let's intertwine these campaigns, and this is where it gets really fun, because now this is where I'm intertwining. So we had the Zcomb campaign, which is specifically Zcomb, but it's the pre-launch Zcomb campaign, and the slogan of that was a .com boom, right? And now I'm simultaneously intertwining multiple campaigns together, and it's gonna be like handing a football off for each, like, so it's like one campaign's going on and it's handing football, like you imagine, like, you know, the football analogy, basically one campaign is going to lead to another, while one's going to lead to another. And that's where it gets golden, man, because that's where it's like you're going to build infinite hype, infinite development, because we're pushing out and we'll keep pushing, right? Like I was thinking Young Thug and Future and Gunner are going to make us, you know, they're pushing P, we're pushing home, right? So it's like so it's like the thing is like, yeah, we're going to keep pushing, and there's like and this is the beauty of it, is there's so much opportunity at the same time. We're not like reinventing the wheel. There's we're reinventing the wheel when it comes to some aspects of DeFi. We're optimizing, innovating, but remember, there's successful companies like Robinhood, Vanguard, all these successful companies out there that are in traditional finance that have done and implemented structures and strategies that work, right? And that's where I'm like focusing like our brand with is like, hey, what did Robinhood do so well? Well, they made something so easy. I mean, something so difficult for the average investor easy, seamless, right? The fact is, my parents are both immigrants, right? They do not even know how they have AOL as their email, right? That shows you how old school they are, right? They have AOL. It's like some people have Yahoo. I'm like, damn, that's old.
They never left the launch pad.
Yeah, exactly. So they have that. But my mother, who barely knows how to speak English, has Robinhood, right? The investing platform. My dad at the same time, right? And that shows you is like, okay, they have just created a bridge between just the normal investors, right, into something that should be extremely difficult, which is investing in stocks, stuff that takes, you know, a lot of thinking to invest in a company. And now they can do it within a click of a button. And that's the craziest thing. And one of the funniest things about Robinhood is majority of the revenue, I think, came from Dogecoin. So that can show you the type of mentality and market that people are in and the state of mind. So it shows a lot of opportunity, but at the same time, when it comes to the user experience, and user interface of these projects, of these businesses, you don't have to reinvent the wheel, right? So for us, like our DApp, like one of the major things that we want to revamp is the first thing you pull up is your portfolio. It should always be your portfolio. You know, like there's no reason why it should not, right? The first thing that you want to see as a user, as an investor, is what is my investment portfolio? How much have I made today? And like, you know, all that good stuff, right? Stuff that you're normalized to seeing anyways. And one funny thing too is the bar is set so low in this space when it comes to products and comes to design that's where like I hate to say never reinventing the wheel, because there's like, you know, you're like trying to basically make this as normal as possible, and people are taking a risk by investing in this space. You shouldn't take a risk in investing in the business. You take a risk by investing in the space, if that makes sense. And that's the direction we want to, like, where I'm headed with is like, hey, we don't want like investors to take a risk they should never have to take a risk on investing in a protocol or any of this stuff, because it's like, hey, they should understand, like, hopefully the whole point of education over time is like they'll understand what they're investing into. But at the same time, like the issue is people are pushing money so much into this space. However, it's protocols with malicious actors and individuals that don't have, you know, that are treating this as like, you know, a short-term gig or a short-term thing where they're just trying to like get in, get out. And once we get out of that mentality and kind of have this investor mentality, like Warren Buffett value investing, I think that's where this space is going to get really, really beautiful, where it becomes a point of diversification of your portfolio versus basically you trying to get rich really quick, right?
Absolutely.
But at the same time, yeah, it's beautiful, man. At the same time, like one of the best goal, like this is what motivates us a ton, is the ability to provide financial freedom and giving people the choice and the chance to actually achieve the pursuit of happiness, and that is solely done, like right now, we have such a diverse community where there's people all around the world, and every project and every initiative we try to push out is, and I always have this in the back of mind, is how do I make it accessible for that individual, right? I don't want people like people move to the United States and America for the American dream. Now DeFi and just DeFi itself is the first.
Now we don't have to move.
Exactly. It's the first industry that you can truly, you don't have to move to America to pursue to get the American dream.
Right.
My dad could say that, my parents didn't have to move from Iran to the States, right? For financial reasons, right? There's some other reasons that you want to come here, but for finance reasons, now you actually have a chance to actually potentially change your life, right? And this also gives opportunity for the youth, right? You as an individual, with games that are coming out where you can PTE, right? So it's like play to earn, right? Like now you have a chance as a 15-year-old. Like when I was playing video games growing up, I was severely addicted. My parents, obviously, well, I come from coming from a culture, like my background, my parents forced education, which is, knowledge is power.
Right.
So but they would always there was no support when it came to playing games, which makes sense, right? Like, the last thing you want to see is your kid when you come home playing World of Warcraft, when you want them to be studying and trying to get the whatever. But makes sense, right? I'm never blamed for that. But the thing is now there's a chance where we can actually say, hey, this child can play this game and actually make money. And if the kid's that great with that game, he can actually set up his life, right? Like the whole point of investing is you start early, you set yourself up for success. Just the whole nature of compounding. And that's what makes compounding so beautiful. And that's why people love compounding in this space, is because you're essentially bypassing time with DeFi, right? We say that 2 weeks feels like 2 years. It really is. In 2 weeks, you can compound what would take a normal investor in traditional finance 2 years to compound into, right? Yeah. And people get this weird mentality where it's like, hey, I have this insane yield of it's insane. Like you get 1% daily return on your investment. That's nuts, man. Like people think that's nothing. But it's like, okay, if you have $1 million, doing 1% of that, my man, that's 10 G's a day, right? So it's like you're making 10 grand a day from 1 million. What? In what world, right? In DeFi, that's possible. But it's like at the same time, there's a lot too. And then if you start actually leveraging, and you start thinking about these other methods, it's insane. It's really, really insane, and it shows you how much money the traditional banks and traditional world's making. Really? Right, that money should be going to you as an investor, not the guys on Wall Street, not to the hedge funds. It should be going to you, right? It shows you how much money these people are making. Like with our low TVL, the TVL has changed, right? For our farms, like right now we're hovering around just specifically our farms, 6.2 million. And mind you, my goal over this campaign is to raise this, but with that 6.2 million, we're making 5 to 6. This is excluding any treasury or any of this stuff. But from 6.2 million. We're revenuing, and revenue is essentially, this is gross, it's essentially net, right? Because it's gas fees and all that good stuff. But revenuing around 6 to 7 grand a day as a protocol, right? A little bit more than that, actually. There's actual, I want to push the numbers out so people can actually truly see that.
Right.
We are a startup. We are a startup essentially. We're 4 months old, and we transitioned to this 2 weeks ago. And the guy that's pushing out the content was sick, and he didn't push it out. We still have 6.2, right? Right. So it's like. We're generating about 6 grand of revenue, 7 grand of revenue daily from just our own financial services, our own products. Right. That is crazy. Right? And the thing is, it's actually nuts, because if you think about it, exactly. And then if we think about Spooky Swap, right? Yeah. Spooky Swap, they make 500, you can see how much you make a daily, but when Phil was telling me one day, they made 800 grand in a day before, right? And this was 2 weeks ago. 800 grand a day, and it's not, and this is where Fantom is at, down, all this good stuff. And you got to realize, as Fantom rises up, if people are bullish on Fantom, Right now, Phantom's at like what, $1.40.
Yeah.
Phantom goes to like, $2, $3. Well, our treasury, like we have the validators, so our validator's worth more.
Validator,
right?
yes.
So exactly, like our treasury. Remember, that's actually the first thing we were talking about. I was like, we want to get the validator, and we did. Yeah, that was
Got it.
old school. It's
Yeah.
old news now. It's like, but that was like our huge goal of actually sustaining network, because we're only going to stay here if Phantom stays. And at the same time, like Phantom, like there's two things that, like, and this is the beauty of actually having your own infrastructure. And I'll go back to the point, but the main point was that if Phantom, like, 10x is our treasury, 10x is right.
Right.
So it's like if Phantom, if you think Phantom goes from $1.40 to $10, then our treasury just 10x, which is insane. And right now we are in such an early stage with the network, and we're rising up. And it's beautiful, because as we keep rising, our opportunities keep growing. And it's like the funniest thing ever, right? Where in my mentality too, and this is what I was speaking with my team yesterday. I wasn't upset or anything, but I was reinforcing this down their throat. Like I was shoving it down their throat, man. I was like, dude, I've been sick. However, I want you guys to have this mentality when you're approaching it, right? So like when we're approaching, like, because the thing is like we're like, who are we competing with in this space now, right? The only people we're competing with right now is ourselves. There's no
right, that's it, yourselves.
Yeah, there's no one else. We're right now an OG to the point that we have a name, we have a set of standard, we have a set of codes, and right now, like, we shouldn't be focusing on who cares about like competition and that stuff, right? Right now, we need our focus on our community and how do we expand from this audience. And I was telling them, I was like, guys, we have so many products that we are on the brink of releasing. And at the same time, one of the biggest things is education. Not too many people understand these products. So we have to focus on making sure that these products are semi-normalized, right? So it's not, by normalized, it means that they're used to it. Like people that got into nodes were used to own forks because of bonds, right? So they were sort of used to that passive income, and they came from Hector or something of that thing. But we have to keep them something similar where they're used to the service beforehand, so it's not totally changed, right? At the same time, I'm like, listen, we have our own metaverse that's out, right? That's out. And this is something I've done in 20. Now we have that. We can make people farm via that route, right? This is like, there's ways to do this. Same time, I was honing like our NFTs. We have our investor NFTs that we're
That's what I was going to ask you about, the NFTs. You guys are going to be turning the nodes into NFTs in the future?
That's different. But yes, so we're turning our nodes. We're going to have an NFT marketplace where you as an investor, so you as an investor can sell your nodes or buy nodes, right? The whole idea behind this is we want investors, we want traders. Right now, the reason why the price action is hit is because it's actually our noders, our OG investors, right? It's them that's driving the price down because they're selling daily, right? So for me, I'm actually writing proposals on how.
You know what I've been doing? I've been compounding it into the Zcone.
And that's the smartest thing to do, because right now even our early stage right now, we're revenuing $5 or $6 grand, right? And by you increasing your position over time, because more important people are going to constantly keep getting into it. However, the earlier you are into it, you get more revenue because there's less people in. But at the same time, if you're constantly increasing your share size, you're essentially, this is better than equity, right? Because you actually have a piece of revenue of Comb, and that's the beauty of it.
That was my main reason for doing that. I was watching a video the other day. I forget who the guy's name was. He was explaining about how you be a part of how this is making you a part of the ecosystem, like a share. And that was the thing that made me continue to compound into Zcone.
Yeah, I'm actually putting that in my notes. So that's my stock analogy, and people really resonate.
That's how I look at it. Yeah,
and that's the way to look at it. So stocks, I always give people like my pitch is the Apple pitch. Have you heard the Apple one? Or I said if
which one?
All right, so I'll give you the Apple one. So you as an investor, this is the way I like to describe what Zcone is, right? So I like to use a brand that we're all very familiar with, which is Apple, right? So Apple has a bunch of products, right? So you as a consumer, how would you support Apple as a consumer? You would buy their products, right? And what are the products? They have an AirPod, they have a MacBook, they have an iPhone. You download their apps on the App Store.
What about a stock while you're at it too?
Yeah, you as an investor, that's how you support. So you as an investor, how you support Apple is by buying their stock.
Right.
Now, all the revenue that Apple generates from all the products they have, right? From their MacBook, from their AirPod, from the fees that they generate from the App Store, which is a ton. the Apple Music, all the fees that they generate from all their financial, like just every product they release, it does not correlate with the price action of their stock, right? So imagine if Apple created a stock, but let's use token for the sake of example.
Right.
All the revenue they generated from the iPhone sales, the AirPod sales, the MacBook sales, Apple's Music Store sales, the App Store fee stores from businesses and apps that get listed there. All that revenue, right, goes into a token, right? That is what Zcomb is for Comb, right? So all the revenue that we generate from our farms, from our yield optimizers, from our marketplace, from every product that we plan on releasing in the future and continues to release, all the revenue that we generate from fees and all that good stuff is always going back to our shareholders, right? Our Zcomb holders. And that's the direction I'm taking with it, which is why I'm treating everybody as investors. It's like, dear investors, dear shareholders. I can't say shareholders because I might actually, that might be the best way to make people resonate with it. But the thing is that's how the direction that we're going with it is like, this is truly the next generation of DeFi, in my opinion. I think this is why I keep saying, made the cringe comment of like, this is DeFi 4.0, is because I think that truly, I think a lot of protocols in the future are going to go towards the revenue share model, because why wouldn't they? Right? It's purely, it's the whole embodiment of DeFi. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes beautiful sense.
Yeah, it's like that's the way it should work. All revenue that's generated as from a protocol, I apologize if there's like noise in the background, but like basically all revenue that's generated from a protocol, all revenue that's generated from the protocol should always just go back into investors, right? Should not go to one figure.
It reminds me, not to cut you off, but it reminds me of Alex Mashinsky of Celsius Network, because he has the same mind thought in going about his platform.
No way.
Yeah.
Yeah, Celsius is actually pretty nice. What's interesting is that like it like once so like sorry, I was just telling him to be quiet, just know what I mean. But like basically what's super nice is that like I think a lot of protocols are going down this route. Like basically one of the main reasons why, and I took a step back too, thinking about like how similar DAO, like Ohm forks, not DAOs, but the other association, right? Like how similar Ohm forks were to node protocols, right? Or how Ohm forks essentially bonds are essentially another word for nodes, right? But bonds made more money than nodes. Nodes are, there's no money made in nodes, to be honest. Like people need to like, this is something that's actually really crucial. And I think what I can touch base with is like no node protocol is sustainable. It's a launching pad for you to generate revenue, generate profit, and generate liquidity. Now it's a double-edged sword. The more liquidity you generate means there's more nodes created, right? That means that there's more investors that long-term that you have a fiduciary duty to repay your investors what you promised to repay them. Absolutely. Right? Some protocols don't do that, and that's where an issue. But for us is the way I like to propose it's always like a DAO structure. So anything we do move forward, if suppose we want to lower emissions, suppose we want to do anything like increase taxes or anything of that nature, we would always go with the vote system, right? And also Zcomb is actually a governance token too in the future. So that's where it's going to play into it. So by you actually increasing your shares, is you're actually having increasing your governance within Comb, which should make sense, right? The more shares of revenue you own, because that's truly what matters the most. Equity doesn't matter when it's revenue, right? Like that's immediate. And essentially that's the route I was trying to take with it is like anything that we change should be in the fate of our investors and our holders. And the people that actually truly invest in Comb are invest in Zcomb. So they obviously want the best interest of Comb in their mind. There's a lot of like cool things that I'm releasing or working on basically to make sure that, that this pans out really well, because if everybody actually, game theory with like the 3-3 staking, it can work, but that's if everybody plays ball, and not everybody, majority people, right? But there's a few outliers, and the market tunnels and like whales exit and all that good stuff, and people were sidestepping. Like there's like a lot of like there's a lot of ways that just it makes sense, right? Like if you're an investor or trader, you're gonna be looking out for your own bag at times, which you should be, right? You're investing, so it makes sense for like whales to sidestep and try to get the rebase, get into the rebase before the rebase company. It just made sense. Like why wouldn't they? You can't blame them. Like it sucks, but it is what it is. And like the thing is now with law, like I don't even like using the word locking with Zcomb. it's you're investing, right? You're investing for a longer period.
Right.
The thing is these own forks and all these things had the potential to it all like theoretically it works, right? But realistically, it can't because of actors in the space at time periods. However, there's mechanisms that you can employ, deploy, that could actually, exactly, to actually make it happen, right? Yeah. Because like right now, for us, we are in a good standing point as far as our treasury, and the beauty is that because everything is built in-house, and this is where they lacked as far as forks and just protocols, is they didn't have in-house features, right? It was more so like you invest in us and we're gonna go invest somewhere else.
Right.
And that's what I meant by like when you profit as a business, why are you gonna take it and put it somewhere else, right? That's just like, what the heck is going on?
Right.
And like that's ludicrous, right? So then like, and then who's handling those investments is what you got to ask yourself. Like who is this trader that's handling millions of dollars, or not even millions, but high six figs? Like who's handling this treasury of, X amount? Who's actually like, who's the one who's handling those funds, right? It should not be an engineer. It should not be a guy like me with growth and product. It should be a guy that, people like, there's a reason why hedge funds hire quants, right? And pay them millions of dollars a year. There's a reason for that, right? Yeah. It's because of skill set. So it's like, who are these individuals that are investing these funds for the protocol? And so long story short, by having our own system, by having our own, infrastructure, and by implementing things that people already do in the DeFi space, which exposes us to a different audience, right? It makes game theory actually work when there's a few features that we have to release. And honestly, I wish we released it beforehand, but yeah, before the node cap, but you can't, everything like if Apple, if these companies can go back in time and change a lot, they would, right? There's a lot of things that they wish they could have changed, but that's the beauty of growth. You acknowledge that, damn, if this is a route we did beforehand, this would be perfect. Yeah. This would solve all our issues.
You learn from other people's mistakes.
Exactly. And the thing is, which is what, like, also I was talking with Stinky about, who's our lead technical researcher, Stinky, and he was saying like how baffled he is with a few protocols that are releasing that aren't implementing much. They're not changing anything that are in this space. So like, and he's like, how he gets frustrated. He's the one with the personality where it's like, he has that, like, strong personality. He says how it is, which I love him. But he's like, how the hell do these protocols not think about ways to change? Because he's like, I've been in this space and we've done it. I could think of already a million things to change. And
I do the same thing. I'll see him come out and I'll say exactly what you just said. I'm like, you're not doing anything different? I'm like, oh my goodness. I'm like, what's happening here?
And that's where it gets kind of funny, because it's like, but you learn as you go too. Yeah. Which makes sense. And like, I don't really blame it. I will admit, like, we were really fortunate with the time period that we came in, because right now it's very hard for protocols to bootstrap and get started. Because there's established protocols out here. We have, and also, like, mind you, like, it's purely based on your development team. And right now, like, for us, we're rising up in Fantom, so we're not really competing with nodes that much. We're competing more so with, the yield optimizers on Fantom, right? Like, right now, like, for us, like, people are switching with Liquid Driver, with Reaper. We're talking with Grim right now. So there's, like, we're starting to, like, talk to these established protocols on Fantom, and that's super nice, right? Yeah. Because that's like where it's like we're kind of like approaching this professional route, and we're not going to go anywhere. We're going to keep developing, but but I do like what's nice is a lot of protocols are trying to take the sustainable approach. But the issue is like, nodes just if you look at the math behind it, right now, given our low node count, well, it's not a node count, our multiplier. And the reason we multiplier is because we have 4 different tiers, right? So like each tier emits different rewards daily of comb, so it can't go off like 10,000 nodes, because there's different types of nodes, right? So we have to go off the multiplier. But even with our low multiplier, if you do the math, and one multiplier, like a 1x multiplier, it equates to 1 top bar hive. A top bar hive equates to 9 comb tokens, and that essentially 1 top bar hive emits to 0.081 comb tokens a day. So you just times that by 10,000, that can give you a general estimate about like how much comb is emitted daily for our node holders. Now, do a standard deviation of plus or minus like 5% just to cover it for bases. But like, that gives you a general idea of how much our nodes emit. So then people are like, why we need to get rid of farms diluting, we need to bring back nodes. Like, no. Our node emissions are 4 times higher than our farm emissions. And people don't know that. And farms, like I said, the 5,000, 6,000 we're generating are from farms. It's not from our nodes, right? Nodes are a sunk cost, right? Like when you look at how nodes are created, like there's, for me, I'm very strongly against Ponzi-nomics as far as like pure Ponzi-nomics. Like I get it. A lot of businesses have to have some sort of like Ponzi-nomics implemented in there to start it. It's just a way to bootstrap. I get it. But when you look about how nodes are created, like 60 to 80% is back in the rewards pool. That's just pure Ponzi, right? That's like, okay, so it took, you gave me basically one cup and basically 60% of this is going back to the next person. Yeah. Right. And then out of that 60%, 60% is being a low number, right? Like, like I saw Thor with like 100% and it's like, dude, holy, like you're not making, and there's no profit. There's nothing being generated through anything. You're creating through no patients. There's nothing, right? If it's 100%, it's going back to the reward pool. There is nothing. You cannot, there's nothing's going to walk for you to invest into. It's all going back to the next person. And then what you got to ask yourself as an investor is this a product, not Thor's beautiful because they're going a different route, but like protocols that like want to go this route and like people that are like, have nodes and keep pushing nodes and, on all this stuff is you have to ask yourself is like what, like even if you get your ROI back, it's at the expense of who? Someone else. Right. That's what it comes down to. Is like, do you I get it. Like people, like there's always a winner and there has to be a loser, but this is one of those spaces that it doesn't have to be like that. Right. No,
you don't have to cheat in this space. You don't have to.
And that's where it gets nuts. It's like when people are like, oh, let's get our ROI, get your ROI back. It's always the number one thing too. Right. But like you, when you get it back and you're dumping and all this stuff and you're like, and this is where I get upset with some influencers in the space. I rarely like to use the word influencers, but these ones I purely think they're influencers because it's like I call them ones like you, like my partners, right? I view them partners and just different types of growth. But there's some
I just can't. I have a hard time just leading people in the wrong direction. Like I just can't do it. It's not genuine. I won't even talk about a project if I don't like it or feel some type of way about it. I won't even speak about it.
And that's the type of individual I need in the space, right? Because like right now, what you're doing is you're believing, right? You're viewing it from in a value point, right? You're not caring short term. You're not caring, even though short term is still profitable, right? Because we're just in space. But it's like you're not being because you're a lot more like that's why you have an audience too at the same time, right?
That's why time in the market really, really matters.
It does, and like you coming in with this mindset where it's like we're everybody in this space is so new, right? That there is so much happening in this space. And this is a time where if you ask people like, hey, do you know what Fantom is? A lot of people generally won't even understand what Fantom is at all, right? They're going to be like, I don't even know what this protocol is. Right. Not protocol. I don't even know what this network is. What are you talking about? If you're talking even about yield farming, people don't even know what that means, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like, you got to ask yourself, that's like, it's like 80, 90% of individuals out there. I would even say 95, maybe more for people about Fantom. Right. So it's like, okay, imagine now as it exposed. So you're in early. Now, when it comes down to it is if you're in early, now what are the protocols and that you want to invest into that? And this is where it gets really nice, right? Because this is where short-term price action and even midterm, midterm price action, 6 to a year month doesn't matter because you're this is something that you're investing in the future. Crypto ain't going anywhere. Right. Fantom ain't going to go anywhere. Some protocols might, but if you pick the right one, this could potentially be life-changing, right? At the end of the day, and that's where it gets nice, and people you'll know, right? Like if individuals, I get it, like if you're you're starting out, you don't want to dox and all that good stuff and show yourself, but I hate we should not normalize stuff that is expected and traditional, not even expected. This is like. The fact is if someone invests in your protocol just because you show your face, that's a slight issue, right? Because you're not investing in the product, you're investing in just because this protocol, because you're not used to that, right? And this is where there's a lot of opportunity in this space. Is that if you go in the traditional world, and if you think about VCs and just anybody that's trying to seek investment funds, if they don't know who the founders are, anybody that's behind the project, you think they're going to invest and put money into that? No. And there's individuals out there that are putting their life savings and their humongous portfolio, not their life savings, but they're putting their hectic portfolio amount, which I feel for them, right? And that's why we're so adamant, and like this is why we have this, I would say, this drive and this goal to keep moving forward, is because it's like we owe this to individuals, right? Where they're in this space, right? And us as creating a business and creating a protocol, we owe that to them, even though that like they might not be the best investors that we like, but at the same time, you know, this is what separates. I think this is what separates, I would say like. This is more personal, right? It's more principle related. It's more so saying that like they don't know today, but that doesn't mean they can't know tomorrow, right? And the thing is that like providing them, right? Like I always use my family, my personal family as an example, because they do have that mindset, right? They're not familiar with investing, but there's a lot of it's word of mouth for them, right? So they invest and they hear this thing, they're like, all right, I got to get it, right? They do barely any research and they're relying on figures to give them the opinions. And like also being on the back end side of my stage, it made me realize how terrible and how shitty some of these individuals are that are constantly preaching. It actually, it's sad, man. Like this is where like, I don't want to make this call too sad, but like it gets really sad because when you're on the other side and you know the mechanics of how node protocols run and just protocols in general run, and you know you just because you're in the business, you know. Yeah. And then you're seeing people with, you know, 20 to 30,000 followers being completely naive, and they're like, you know, it's completely down, and they're like, they're saying they're compounding at below or any of this good stuff, and they're like just holding all this good stuff. They're just saying that, you know, stuff. And the thing is I get it to an extent, but then like what sucks is like these are individuals that are making new people that are following them through exit liquidity, right? And I don't want like individuals to be exit liquidity when they're first in this space, because A, we don't need that, and B, this is such a new space that the last thing I want is someone's first exposure into DeFi to be like them losing. I barely think rugs are happening as much as before, but let alone let it be a rug, but B, let it be something where they lose their, you know, 90% or 80% of their portfolio, and then their whole time they're trying to cash ROI. I've seen that happen. Like when I first came in this space, just being involved in different scams, getting scammed. Like I got scammed so many times, and during that period, I learned though. Yeah, I learned so much. But during that period, so many people left and didn't come back to crypto. Yeah, because of that. Imagine, so during the 2017 bull run, right there, that was a prime example. Yeah, that is a humongous prime example. Perfect. That was the best learning lesson you could ever have. Exactly. And this is what showed you how powerful crypto was. And so for me, like my exposure in crypto, so I was fortunate I had an older brother, and my older brother was very into like, you know, it was into like, you know, the whole like bodybuilding misc forums, like, you know, all that good stuff, where like he was into like, you know, this, I don't want to say sus stuff of the internet, but he was into the stuff in the internet, like going to like where like, you know, Bitcoin, all this stuff was there. And I always joke around like, Sean, like if there's anybody that had a chance or potential to be a multimillionaire multiple times, it's him, right? He knew about Bitcoin was less than $1. He actually bought it before because he would utilize it, he'd play around with it, right? Because he was in that space. At the same time, he went to Berkeley. So he was in Silicon Valley, and he knew about Ethereum when Ethereum was less than $1, right? Because it was what's popping in the Valley, and people are constantly talking about it, right? And this is during like 2016 when it was coming out. And then like basically, I remember my first like actual true exposure was in basically beginning of 2017. So like spring 2017. And how I actually learned about it in 2016. I knew about it before, but like I followed Preston Pish. The guys, it's like We Study Billionaires. They had a podcast, right? And he spoke about one of his podcasts, like when I listened to it driving home from like school or any of that stuff. We listened to it, and like that's where I got exposed into like when he talked about the first purchase of Bitcoin. And this is like where I was like, wow, this is what Bitcoin was. I think it was trading at $600 to $1,000 when I was looking at it, and I was like, okay, that's actually pretty insane. And then like I remember like, you know, just, you know, you kind of it kind of sparks an interest. And then you're like, okay, let's, and then you start moving on to something else. I don't know why, but that's just the way it works. Yeah. But like you hear about it and then you spark it and you're like, oh, this is kind of interesting. But then you don't take that extra initiative and take that extra 30 minutes, you know? And then I remember during the 2017 bull run, that was a prime example, is because like that showed you how attractive and how like like booming, I would say, this space has a potential to be, right? This is the first exposure to people that had into majority of populace, right? Like during 2017, that's when everybody was like, that's when people heard about Bitcoin. That's when your mother, your grandma was talking about Bitcoin.
Yeah.
But Litecoin, this were the whole XRP boom, right? Where people were like getting to Ripple, and why they got into Ripple was because like, you know, it was like the first blue chip that represented kind of like a dollar penny stock, was like the majority of mentality, where people were like, hey, this can make $10 and that good stuff. Like it was huge. And then but if you actually study the technology behind it, right, that was the crucial thing. And people that studied, that's why they were huge maxis, is because it's like, if you actually study you had any technical background and actually studying and saying, oh my God, this is
technology.
Huge. That's what it comes back to today too, with the protocols. If you study them and seeing it, and because it's not going anywhere. None of us are going anywhere. You know, like, well, the true ones aren't going anywhere, right? If you actually study the businesses and having the infrastructure, like this is where it truly is here to stay. You know, and like but yeah, it's always kind of funny because I was always telling him, I was like, man, you knew about this, you knew about that, and he heard about it, and he was a technical guy, he's an engineer, right? So like for him, it's not like yeah. I was even telling him, I was like, so he's an engineer for Twitch right now. I'm like, man, you need to. He knows Solidity too. And he knows other. I was like, dude, this is the market to be in right now if you're trying to develop. And then like,
I'm surprised he didn't. Being an engineer, I'm surprised he didn't just jump all over that.
Oh, for Comb?
No, for the You said he knew. You said he knew about Ethereum and Bitcoin. You said he didn't.
Yeah, but he was still in college back then, so he's in uni. So like he was in and he was a chemical engineer back then.
Okay.
And then he changed into software engineering because that's like the most in demand. And then he was like, man, like when he was he was a chemical engineer, and then basically he switched to software engineering. He did a boot camp. This is before boot camps were even a thing, like booming as far as software engineers go. This is like 2015, 2016, he took the boot camp, right?
Yeah.
And then it was a huge saturation, but it was like, because you're in that area, I would say that city, like San Francisco, that's where everything first happens. That's where you hear about the new latest booming things. And that's one of the main reasons why, like myself, I came back to school, right? It was because like I started my own thing. And then I started I was like, okay, you know what? Personally for me, I was not getting exposed because I'm pretty technical, but it was like to the point where I was very technical compared to my peers when it came to like when I was younger. But then there came a point where I was becoming stagnant, right? Because the industry I was in was automotive previously, but I did marketing and SEO, and I handled all that good stuff. And I converted my own business into multiple locations without turning a wrench, right? And that's just straight up through like my own personal, right? It was a little different. It was a different type of wave, right? It's not more of like, and that's what it came down to. And then like I was okay, I reached this point, and I was like, now I want to get into, I want to get a lot more technical. So I came back to school, and now this is where like, and me going back to school is how I got exposed into a lot more into DeFi. Right?
Oh, wow. Going back to school, it exposed you to that.
Because it's the stereotypical story where your roommate's friend is like trading. He's like, hey, I like X about this, and you kind of start hearing about it. And that's like honestly what's super beautiful about I would say college and like university and education. Like people might not like school, I get it, but you don't go to school to like you don't have to, like, you just gotta play school at times, some parts of classes. But when it comes to like actual like the beauty of like the reason why you want to go to these top universities for the networking, for the opportunities, right? Like the thing is, and I told them, I was like, there's so many resources at all these schools that are just literally trying to give it to you, right? And this is the beauty, like people neglect at times, is like when you go into, you're an 18-year-old or some like, I was 17 when I graduated, but like, when you're 17, 18, or maybe 19-year-old, you're going into college, you're not looking to like start a business or anything. Some people are, and those are, the individuals that have a good head on their shoulder at times, but it makes sense, right? Like you're going into college, you want to like have fun, and you want to, it's your first time being by yourself without being with your family. So, you're going to go nuts. Now, imagine if you actually have like some expertise behind that, right? This is why people that have been in the military, that have, been CC or just something of that nature, are actually one of the best students when it comes to universities, because they're mature enough and they kind of realize like they're here to learn. They're not here to screw around.
Yeah, they're more mature, more wiser, and more mature.
Exactly. And then like going back to it, like these schools have these programs, like these accelerator programs, that would pair you up with VCs, pair you up with funding, pair you up with a bunch of these.
They're just not widely. They're just not widely publicized about either, though.
Exactly.
There's a lot of people that don't know that they even exist.
Exactly. It's like a scholarship. It's literally scholarships. There's scholarships are all out there. You just have to do the extra step and search. That's it. And there's millions of dollars at your at your disposal. You just have to search for it. They're not going to hand it to you, right? But they're going to so it's like, that's just, life won't just hand it on a platter, but you can actually, if you take the time, and this is what I always told people that I always say, like, Sam, I want to make money at a young age and all this stuff. And they're going to school. One of the best things you can possibly do for yourself if you're in this stage, obviously, getting into Web3 is really, really, it's lucrative as heck. But studying like scholarships, studying like how do you minimize your costs that you're paying right now, right? If you're paying 60 to 80 grand or 30 grand, whatever you're paying for your tuition, how do you lower that, right? Because that becomes profit at that point. They're literally handing you money, right? If you join an LGBT club, or you're part of, now you expose yourself to, LGBTQ like scholarships, all that good stuff. Like you get exposed to so much more. And like, I know we're going on a tangent right now, as no relation with DeFi, but like, the reason why I bring this up with is because Phil goes to UW, I go to SC, and these are schools that have phenomenal research facilities. And one goal that we also want to go is, and I've said, is like top bottom, right? For us, we are very fortunate that we have built a community in the sector, and we're going to keep rising up. But now we're going to also utilize our personal networks from our schools and all this good stuff to actually shoot us up so we can go to the valley, right? Like my goal is to take this to be a FANG company, right? That's my goal.
Cool. That'd be cool, like inside of the schools, them getting this knowledge as well. Yeah.
They want this, right? Because this gives schools another reason for you to attend, right? Like the thing is like, this gives schools the reasons like, hey, the founder of this came to our school and was in this program, right? And the thing is, like even doing talk shows and doing there's a blockchain club in my school. I haven't been yet to attend it, but they want me to, and I want to talk to a few to kind of go there. Yeah, it's stuff that's kind of cool where it's like people are in the space, they all want to learn, and at the end of the day, these are.
Before I forget about it, I wanted to ask you about is there a connection between drones?
The drones, yeah. So that's something we're actually still in the. I love that. So essentially, basically, with the drones, so it's Pan Am. We're working with them, and I've been silent for the time being just because I want a few more VC, like personal VCs that are top of mind to kind of go into a little bit more. However, and at the same time, like there's a lot of legality associated with it, so we're making sure before we progress it, everything like that is squared away. But yes, we secured it. It's humongous as far as the potential for what it actually serves as a greater goal, right? The company itself is awesome, like it's cool. But not viewing it from the company's point of view, but people like drones, right? Like people just like, because it's just kind of it's a cool thing, right? It's cool. It's a cool hardware and all that good stuff. But we're actually doing, this is a launch pad. And I mentioned it earlier in the call too, or saying we're doing a launch pad, but this is a long-term play, right? And that's what I'm saying. Like that's why I'm literally revamping the whole thing. Right. Because I'm like, hey, we got a lot of cool stuff. However, given the state that we're in right now, we have to really understand our audience and make sure that we're delivering the proper products and services at the proper time, and not just, because this is, remember, I said, like, as we're starting to grow, we're getting a lot more opportunities, and we're getting presented with a ton. Now, it's beautiful because we have different teams that can tackle each sector, and then you intertwine it, but we have to make sure that it's at the right moment. So with Pan Am and the drones, the whole idea with that is that we're essentially, this is like how we're presenting a bridge for individuals, I would say not individual startups, to enter the DeFi sector, right? So this is where it gets really nice. You don't have to be in a traditional world. Like what it is essentially you as an investor. This is where it gets legality, so we got to be careful. But the general idea is this: you as an investor, you can actually invest in pre-IPO companies now, right? And then basically, and that's possible through IPOs, and I mean through NFTs. Like you as an investor, you can actually invest in a pre-IPO company. And this is where it gets super nice, because also from the reason why businesses and startups want to do this is they can raise capital just like that. At the same time, they don't have to offer insane equity to like VCs. They don't have to go that route. This is a platform where we're bridging startups and this is a huge industry, right?
Yeah.
So that's why for us, like but it's a long-term thing, right? Because you have to have good products, good for businesses. At the same time, like, this is kind of more of like a professional aspect. And like, because as much as we love it all, but like, this is more a professional thing. But the whole idea is that you as an investor can now have the ability where you don't have to be an accredited investor.
Right.
It's huge, right? That's how you get into IPOs. You have to be an accredited investor, and you have to have like more than $10,000 to invest, and 10,000 is on a minimal scale. Now this is a point where you don't have to be this. You don't have to be accredited. You don't have to also have $10,000. If you want to invest in Apple in the 70s, 80s, now you have a chance to, right? This is like the beauty of like the actual true, like how this is awesome is because we're essentially a launch pad. That this is like this is one of our major focuses too, as far as like a product that we want to serve and offer to, I would say businesses, but also to our investors, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really nice. Like, so that's what that is. But the drone stuff, that's like that's just the company itself. They've secured like 3 million funding and seed. So like it has been vetted. They have patents. Like it's fully like it's a legit company. So it's like so it's really nice. That's so, like, awesome. That's why like thank you. We really appreciate that. It's huge, but it just comes down to like if like it's big, and like there's a lot of big stuff too. But my major focus is to like I always have this tendency where I want to fix like kind of the given issues that we're presenting right now. But at the same time, like I said, nothing has changed with us. We're still moving forward.
Right.
And if anything, we're in a better situation today than we were 2 weeks ago, right? Like today, like our missions, like it's going a really nice route that I'm very, everything's very fortunate with as far as where we're standing.
Sweet, man. Well, if there's not anything else you want to say, man, I greatly appreciate you coming to the show. Where can everybody get a hold of you and get more information about Comb Financial?
So obviously, our the best ways, like best media is our Twitter. So Comb Financial, just type in Comb Financial on Twitter if you want the latest news. We post every day. Same time, if you want to get more personal and have more of a connection with the team and kind of ask any questions, our Discord. So Discord is actually the major one. So, and for me, I'm always at your disposal, right? Any questions, anything that you I do get a lot of DMs daily, but I try to respond to them. I do respond to everybody, so I'll respond to you.
I guess I would believe it's starting to get crazy now.
It's been when I was sick for the last 2 weeks, that was when it was worse, because I was getting hit up daily, and people were like, "What's going on?" And then they would be DMing Twitter. They would be DMing Twitter saying, "Hey, I messaged Dabooooosh and he's not responding. What's going on with him? Is everything okay?" And I'm like, "Oh my god, man, this is like it's like." And then I have to talk with Phil. I have to talk to him, saying, "Hey, don't worry about it. Like I'm taking care of that." It's like slightly like tattletaling a little bit. Like at times when I was sick, I was like, it's like you're kind of being like, "Hey, he's not getting back to me. What's going on?" and all this stuff. Yeah. It's been like a day and a half or 2 days and I didn't respond, but but it makes sense because usually I respond within that day or a few hours, even less. Yeah. But as far as any questions or anything ever, my suggestion is always to create a ticket when you go into Discord, and you just do hashtag create a ticket, you type that in, and then that moment you go into your own little ticket, your own section, and our team has that, and we close that out daily. So if there's any questions about price or any questions about strategy, any questions about anything, I always say go ticket, right? Instead of asking in general, but we also have a phenomenal community that even if you ask in general, people will respond to you. However, if you want to talk to a specific team member, create a ticket at them, and by all means, and if there's anything personal like myself, my DMs are always open. Just don't say anything weird. But
sweet, man. Well, thanks again so much for coming to the show.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it, man. It was phenomenal.
Absolutely. Have a good one.
Alrighty. Cheers. Thank you, man.
Cause it's the standard in this bitch. XRP. I went to YouTube University, and now they mocking me with no degree. We saying by the swift, keep it walking. Respecting elders in these bushes. Bitcoin is talking.
You don't have to be rich to be taking advantage of this. This was the beginning of the greatest transformation of wealth the world has ever fucking seen since World War II.
Blockchain. We talking about an intellectual choo-choo train. It's DLT up in these streets, man. That's why we rip all on that blockchain.